Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Paranormal Q&A with Jack Kenna and
Carly Hall.
Carly Hall.
You know.
So I had posted the thing. We're going to play some video tonight of some shadow figures that our team captured, and a couple of the spirits in New England. Our team captured on a couple, well, at least on one location. I don't know if I can find the other file, but I did find the one. I've got it ready to go. But before we do that, how was your week been, Carly?
My week's been good. How's your week been?
Slow so far. Yeah. We had a good weekend, though. We helped some friends out over the weekend.
We did.
With an investigation that we did. Just some very good friends of ours, so that's the reason we kind of went out and did it. You live out in Connecticut. Just turns out they had some family members checking on the newborn baby in the house. So,
Yep.
Well, not newborn, but the baby in the house.
Soon to be newborn. But
yeah, and another one on the way. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
So that was a good example of, even though the paranormal can seem scary, it's not always what it seems.
Correct.
So.
Yeah, and they found that out.
Mm-hmm.
So, other than that, my week's been pretty good. I go for my second COVID shot tomorrow.
Awesome.
Got my appointment at 11 o'clock. I got to go get that. So that'll be the final on that. That's about it. Now I say hi to Barry Martz, Carl Mitchell, Karen, Barry. Oh, I said Barry already. Debbie is out there, and some good people. Keith Bailey is on. Our friend Keith is on. How you doing out there, Keith? Cindy, I see Cindy out there. So, Steve White just popped in. All right, we got lots of people. And it's one that says Facebook user, but they don't have their name on there. So
okay. I was wondering about that. I was like,
yeah, I don't know who that is.
Did they block me? Do I have that? I don't know. Hello, Facebook user.
He says, I'd love to have you guys on my birthday show this month. Probably not going to be available for anything. You got a lot of other stuff going on, a lot of other shows going on. So, although I'd like to, may not be available. I think I do know who it is. So now that they mentioned that. Desiree Bowman. Okay, see you out there.
Hello.
Oh, Michelle is out there. Our friend Michelle Cook.
Hey.
So that's almost half the team out there. The in Desiree.
Hudson Valley.
Desiree Bowen's in there. Yeah, from the Hudson Valley crew. So, All right. So I'm gonna wait a little bit before we play the video, but we are kind of talking about. We're going over shadow figures tonight, and because I know somebody else out there who's in the chat has told us they saw a shadow figure in their place. I won't mention names. They can throw it out there if they want to. But they are out there watching tonight. So trying to figure that out. I did suggest he try out see if he can catch anything with his SLS camera in that room. Since you've seen shadow figures, if there is something around, you might catch it on the SLS camera. It's always a possibility. And Desiree, yes, Desiree, I remember we met you at Selma Mansion last fall. Yes, I remember that. Okay, and Steve already has a question. Of course, Steve's always has a question.
It's good questions.
I like his question. He does always have good questions. Okay, question for you guys. Once a spirit is attached to an object, is it always attached to that object? The answer to that typically is yes, Steve. I mean, they've attached themselves to I'm just going to leave this question up there. Usually something is attached to the object because it was very important to them in life, or usually it was something that was very important to them in life. So it could be a piano, it could be anything, it could be a doll, could be the creepy dolls, always a good thing. But yes, typically from what we know, once something is attached to an object, it remains attached to it until it's removed. Sometimes people bind it to it, so it can no longer cause any problems or any harm.
So when
Oh,
you
you're
bind,
saying hi to Santa.
yes,
Okay,
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know
yeah,
who
yeah.
Santa is.
He
Yeah.
just said hi to me in chat.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
but
Go ahead,
when
Carly.
you
Give me your
bind an
thoughts on it.
Yes, so when you bind an object or a spirit to an object or an entity to an object, they are no longer allowed to interact with the surrounding environment. They are completely bound to that object. So they literally don't have they can't remove themselves. I don't know about any if they have to be removed from an object, I expect that they have to be unbound and then removed. The object then has to be cleansed, but they literally are stuck to that object. So just want to clarify.
And Debbie Smith has a question. Why do shadow figures just stand and watch? Not all shadow figures do just stand and watch. And actually, this video is
That was a
going to
good
show
question.
that to you. But that is a good question. I think sometimes when you do see one that's standing there watching, it's either curious about you, or just based on my own experiences, or they're trying to get a message through to you. I mean, in some cases, I mean, they can be trying to intimidate, but I haven't seen that actually too often, except in some really negative cases. But I do believe with certain shadow figures, they're trying to get your attention, or they're curious about, like in place of investigators, they may be curious about why we're there.
Right.
And I have had that happen on different investigations. So, but they don't always just stand.
Yeah.
In Debbie's case, I think she mentioned this, that she always sees this one standing in this one spot. So, and that may be just, actually, even that could be something that's more residual, because it's always in the same location whenever she sees it. So it could be something that's residual and it's not even intelligent, not even trying to interact with you. That is a good question.
It's very situational.
Yes,
So.
yes, it is. It is. And Desiree says, and she's talking about objects and things with attached. She says, I always sage before I bring them into my house. That's good for clearing the energy out of it. But if there actually is a spirit attachment, it's probably not going to do anything for it. It's probably not going to remove that attachment. There's a little bit more to it than just saging to remove an attachment. But that definitely will remove any lingering energies from it, which sometimes people do confuse energy that's attached to something with it being a spirit attachment. But a spirit attachments are a little bit different. So, like I said, just saging isn't always going to remove a spirit. They're bound to it for a reason, for a specific reason. So, your thoughts on that, though, Carly?
No, I agree. I mean, when it comes to spirit attachment, especially on an object or even on a person, it's much more in depth. I do remove attachments as well with Reiki, so it's the best way I can describe it is there's a cord going from the spirit to the object or the person itself, and when you have to remove that cord and also fill it with positive energy, or else it's just going to be an empty hole for it to attach back to. So which sage is just an energy mover. It's not necessarily, I mean, it can be considered a cleanser just because of the fact that it can move energy out of a space, but it doesn't transform or like take the energy and like it's not intelligently removing the attachment. It's just doing its job through intent. But I do agree. There's a little bit more in depth with it, but in some situations, sage can work with objects.
Very true. Yeah, well, again, it will always cleanse the like energy off of them. That's just attached energy, but not necessarily a spirit. And Holly Gates talks about, I had a shadow figure follow me home from a haunted cemetery. It turned on lights and stopped clocks with batteries. Yeah, well, it's a spirit. I mean, so they do draw energy from things. So, and they can affect electronics. We do know that. So I'm not surprised that happened. Hopefully you get rid of that. Where you got it to go back to where it came from. But that is true. They can affect those different things. because it is a spirit. It's not just a shadow figure. It's actually a spirit.
Yeah. The shadow figure is just the manifestation of itself showing to you.
Yes. And WA says, can an attachment stay with you for years? Yes, if you don't, especially if you don't realize you have it. Of course, once you realize you have an attachment, you can do things to get rid of it. So there is cleansing rituals that take place. Usually it takes maybe even a Reiki session can be used to remove the spirit's energy from you. There's a lot of different things that
Preferably from another outside party.
Yes, usually you can't remove it yourself. Yes, that's a good point. Because you have the attachment, it's almost impossible to remove it by yourself. You do have to usually seek out somebody who's knowledgeable with how to do that and how to get rid of that. But because you're the person being affected, it has some control over you, so it's very difficult to remove an attachment yourself. Not that you can't do it, but it could take a while. But yes, they can attach to you for years if they want to. Especially some people, again, don't realize they have an attachment and it goes on for years, and it's very energy draining, and it can actually make you sick after a period of time. All he says, I'm not sure it's gone, but I think so. It's been a few months. Thank you. Okay. Well, I would even maybe have somebody check on that for you if you do think you have an attachment or have an attachment. Good psychic medium could help you figure that out. Even somebody who's really good with Reiki could help you figure out if you've got some other energy attached to you and possibly cleanse it from you.
The reason why it's preferable to have a third party do it is because you are personally involved in your own attachment. They can hide. And if they can trick you into thinking you don't have an attachment for a certain period of time, they can most likely trick you into thinking that they're gone. Yeah. So just to absolutely be sure, it is always good to have a third party involved, preferably somebody that you aren't very close to. I mean, you can be friends with them, but not like family members, because, it's, again, a personal attachment to you as well. So you always want to make sure, just as a precaution, if you guys ever meet us at events and stuff, like with when all the COVID stuff is all over and you see us at events, I can help you if you guys think that you have an attachment. I do it for free. So feel free to come to our table and talk. And if you have any concerns, feel free to reach out to us.
And Carly's actually done that at a few events for people. So it wouldn't be the first time. And
we can sage you as well. So
yes. Yeah, which just clears any residual energy off of you. Yep. As well. Do some attachments remove easier than others? Yes. The simple answer to that is yes. And a lot of that can have to do with the length of time you've had the attachment or the type of attachment that it is. Mm-hmm. But yes, some are easier to remove than others are. And just Debbie goes to talk about, okay, I have tried to get rid of it from outside help, but not gone yet. You may not just have gotten the right help. So, you just got to find the right person who kind of can really help you with that. Debbie, I always forget where you're from. If you contact us about where you're from, I can try to see if I got somebody out that way that can help you. Nick just he's talking about shadow figures again. We're back in shadow figures. One of my first real paranormal experiences was with shadow people during my first full night investigation at Waverly Hills Sanitarium. Yeah, very good. Back in 2017. Really cool. Wow, that is pretty cool.
Waverly Hills Sanitarium is a really good place. That's on my list of places I want to go.
Never been there myself, so.
I have some friends who live near there.
Oh, you do?
Mm-hmm. Some gaming friends. Yep.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
We could check it out sometime. Nick just goes on to talk about his experience at Waverly Hills. First place we went was the 4th floor. The guy told us to turn off our flashlights. Shortly afterward, we started seeing several shadow figures going in different directions in front of us. My reaction, surprisingly, was excitement, then shock. Yes.
Oh, cool.
Well, the first time, yeah, it is a
Yeah.
little shocking. The very first time you ever see one of these things. It
Oh,
can be
I have so many questions, Nick.
Oh, now see, well, it is Q&A. It can go both
Okay.
ways here.
Oh. So did you use one of those flashlights with the grid too
I
as
was
well?
throwing this up at Julia. Jack, are you married? Actually, technically, I am still married. I'm separated, but I have.
Not officially divorced, but
Yes, correct. Yeah, I'm separated. I've been officially separated for
yep.
almost a year now. But if you're going someplace with that, you're gonna have to fight with Carly, I guess. Yeah.
Hi.
No, Carly is not my daughter. She is my girlfriend.
Yes.
Some people think, yeah, well,
Understandable.
we're just threw it out there.
But yes.
And Linda Lou says, can it go from object to object? If you get rid of the object it's attached to, can it go to another object? Let's inside your house. Typically, no. And we talked about that, I think, earlier on. Typically, once something is attached to, let's leave it up there for a second, is attached to an object, it's going to stay with that object because there's a reason. Again, there's a reason it's attached to that object.
Right.
So it's not just random. It just didn't attach to any particular object. You can have, if you get rid of the object, you can have some residual energy hanging around. It doesn't mean it's attached to another object, but it's residual energy from the attachment that was there. So you may, in that particular case, since we're maybe talking about energy, you can go through and sage your home, or have someone sage it for you, knows how to do that. Use a little white sage, maybe a little Palo Santo, and
After you bring the object outside of your house.
well, she's talking about she already got rid of it.
Oh yeah, if you already got rid of it, then yes.
Yeah. But when you sage your house, you do want to open windows to let the energy move out. Otherwise, you're just moving it around your house, and you want to work in a clockwise direction when you sage as well. Otherwise, if you got all the windows shut, you're just trapping in your house. You're just moving it around the house. You're not actually getting rid of it. You got to give it a little way to get out. So, let me see. Debbie asks, have you ever encountered small people? I haven't, thought it was losing my mind. I've seen small shadow figures. Can't say I ever encountered little people. So I'm not sure what you mean by small people. That almost sounds like leprechauns or something there.
Which could be elemental.
Or fairies. Yeah, they could be elemental. There is the pukwudgies that are talking about, which are very small little humanoid type creatures that go all the way back to Native American stuff. I did want to take a shout out to Ellen McNeil because I saw her pop in. So thank you for being here tonight, Ellen. Love it.
Miss you.
Yes, we miss you very much. And Cindy says, why are we seeing so much about shadow people now? I don't recall seeing or hearing about them 5 years ago. Oh, I was. How about you, Carly?
Well, that was very taboo back then for me, and I think it was for a lot of families. It wasn't until very recently that the paranormal actually has come out of that taboo type of conversation and is more openly discussed now. 5 years is a long time to have a lot of change. So I'm sure people saw shadow figures since, early time, as long as someone has a spirit and they pass to the other side and they're able to manifest into a physical shadow, there's shadow people. There's also elementals who have been able to do it for years and years and years, even way before us. So it's just people haven't spoken up about it either because it's taboo or they just don't they convince themselves that that's not what they saw. That's my opinion on it.
And Nick says he's supposed to be going back to Waverly in April.
Awesome.
Just throw that out there. I've been actually hearing about shadow people for a long time, and shadow figures for a long. Matter of fact, I've been running into them for a long time. Even back, oh God, it's 10 years ago now with Spirits New England. One of the first experiences I ever had was capturing shadow figures on camera that I didn't see with my own eyes. Actually, the first time was on the USS Constitution. When we played back the video, I was like, wow, that's interesting. So I don't know, because I've been hearing about them for a long time. It's not anything new to me, but maybe just because of the circles and the type of stuff we've run into. What do you call someone who can hear disembodied voices? Schizophrenic. No, I'm only kidding. They asked me that once on one of the shows I did, and they said, what do you call somebody who hears voices that other people don't? And I said, schizophrenic. I said,
it is a symptom.
Well, it is, but not in this particular case that we're talking about. We're talking about there's not necessarily a word for the person. I mean, I've heard disembodied voices.
That is a good question.
If you're looking for, like, are they clairvoyant, clairsentient, psychic, whatever, whatever. I mean, because different people, as you investigate, if you investigate a lot, like we tend to do, you run into a lot of different phenomena. You do run into what's called disembodied. You will hear disembodied voices, and sometimes there's disembodied sound that turns out to be a voice on an audio recorder. When you play it back on the audio recorder, it's actually a voice, but you hear it as an odd noise. A good example of that is on our Spirits of New England website. We have an example of that there from when we were out in, I forget what the town was. Anyways, there's an example on there where me and another investigator heard it as this really weird noise, captured that on our audio recorder, but on a recorder that was in another room at the exact same moment, it captures it as a female voice. We can't quite make out what she says, but we heard it as this whoop, 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 kind of noise. It was really weird. But I have heard disembodied voices. And there's not a specific name for, as far as I know, for somebody who hears them, because you can hear and experience all different kinds of things. But it could mean that you're more sensitive to the spirit and to spirit energy and to spirits, and that's why you're able to hear it. Or it could be something that was meant for you to hear. They could be, a lot of times we believe that. Let me see.
The spirit can choose who they want to talk to, and
correct.
If they very intently want you to hear something that they have to say, you can hear it. I mean, even with people who don't have such strong psychic abilities, there's I believe that everybody does have psychic abilities. Right. Some are just more stronger than others, so it can come through for people.
Right. That's great. And Desiree says this is a question, but it doesn't seem like a question. So here's a question. When we investigate, we start with prayer, carry our crystals, and sage at the end. All right. So what's your question, Desiree? Is it further down?
Right below it.
Right below it. Oh, okay. Is that sufficient? Oh, okay. Okay. Is that sufficient? Yeah, usually it is. You have to go with what works for you. I mean, I don't necessarily always use prayer, but I'll use a white light technique, the energy and the light of my faith surrounding me. I may say prayer with that. I may just envision that light coming down to me from heaven, wherever you want to call it, coming down for me and coming up from the earth as well, and charging me up. So, and putting that ball of energy around me, and that protects me. I do also carry white quartz, and I also carry, believe it or not, black tourmaline. So I do carry those two things as well. You can carry whatever stones or crystals or whatever feel important to you, but what you're doing should be enough. It doesn't always end up the case, but that's a lot of good protection. So if it's working for you, I would keep going with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
As long as you had any problems, if you had some problems, you may want to try something else too, especially at the end before you leave, so you don't
Oh
come
yeah.
back with any attachments. And Nick, hello, Nick, to you. Nick says, "Okay, hope you're doing well. We're doing good."
Yeah, we are.
And Nick's just talking to you about.
Oh yeah, I read it.
Okay.
That's really cool.
Okay.
That's
Barry's talking about his first experience. First experience with shadow figure was with a group in the basement of the Onondaga Historical Association in Syracuse, New York, a few years ago. I didn't really find the experience malevolent. It just had a left to right movement along the wall and disappeared. Very cool, though, Barry. That's a lot of times how you catch them. They're usually not always very obvious. Like in this particular case, this video I'm going to play for you guys, I never saw them at the time. So I really can't explain why I seem to follow them with the camera. Because I didn't see it at the time. So I think, but I was in tune with what was going on around me. So I think, I mean, it wasn't even looking at the camera. I actually had the camera held down around my chest area and is kind of looking around the room.
Or could you say that they were following the camera?
No, because they were moving.
No. Yeah, but they were with the camera.
Yeah, but I followed them.
Oh, it's just a little thought in your head. That's all.
No. Well, I mean, I knew there was something around at the time.
Right.
I felt like I was. If you listen to the whole audio, I talk about. I feel like something's either following me or something's around me or something like that. And it was it got really cold in that room at that moment too. So, you know, that's what it is. Cindy does go back to your question. Why taboo? Thanks. That's what you were talking about, shadow figures, how you felt it was taboo to talk about back at that time, like 5 years ago.
I come from an experience where I just have started paranormal investigating in the last 2 years. So my experience with the paranormal was very household related. It was very personal. I had my own haunting. In our household, we were not allowed to talk about the paranormal. I was adopted into a family with people that did not have very strong abilities, or if they did have them, they shut them down. They shut them off. And they did not really believe in the paranormal. They actually thought that I was weird. They believed that I was going mentally insane, and they actually wanted to admit me. So it's a very scary topic for some people, and it's very uncomfortable, and it's just taboo to the point where they just don't want to talk about it, and it's just an experience that just shouldn't be had in some households, and even in some religions as well. So it varies household to household and religion to religion.
Yeah, and just to prove that point, Linda says nothing paranormal was ever allowed to be discussed in her home. I missed out on a lot of great conversations because of that. So there you go. Some households didn't allow it. I grew up in a little bit different household. My mother had a lot of experiences and would talk about them to us all the time. So especially when she was growing up, and she had a ton of stuff happen. So and Keith has a question. Have you ever had a shadow figure set off a motion detector? Yes, as a matter of fact. There is mass to them. I mean, a motion detector is basically will pick up on anything that triggers the IR device. So I mean, it's an infrared, signal that's going out. So anything that walks in front of it or blocks it or breaks that beam sets that off. So yeah, I have had on an investigation more than one something set off a motion detector. So yes, it does happen, Keith, and probably more often than not. Of course, you don't always get a shadow figure on every investigation, but even if you don't see it, if you're not there to see it at the time, it does happen. That's why we set up the motion detectors. And hopefully if we got a camera there, it caught it. And Desiree's talking to Cindy. Oh, here, let's go put this up there from Nick. We came back to school, other kids started calling me Lord of the Shadow People.
I love
Because
that.
what I experienced and also being several students shadowing others in marching band practice.
Literally.
Literally being shadow of someone, shadowing people. Let's see. I think I jumped ahead. I lost my place.
Carl said he's seen shadow people at Rolling Hills Asylum.
Yes, I have too. When I was there, and I did see shadow figure people there myself. Yeah, I think on the 3rd floor, I saw a shadow figure there. Yeah, it's a very active place for shadow figures, actually. Caught him investigating in northern Maine, says Bob Burnell. And that's Linda's going back to Disembodied Voices. I'll put that up there in just a second. Yeah, Barry says, yes, I saw shadow figures at the end of the shadow. That was it. I think that's the 3rd floor, Barry, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it's the 2nd floor, but yeah, that's where I saw them as well. And Linda says, I hear a woman's voice call my name every so often. It happens in several different places, especially where she might have been at one time. I believe it's her grandma who passed away some time ago. Very close relationship. That very well could be. I mean, I hear my name called in my own house, not more recently, but ever since I was a kid. And it turned out a psychic, good friend of mine is a very strong psychic medium, was able to tell me it was my grandmother, my mother's mother, that would call my name. And occasionally it still happens. Yep. Go ahead.
So I just want to make a point. So the Facebook user, I figured out who it was because they're showing up on my phone, and I have no idea why they're coming up as Facebook user, but it's Jason Aiello.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's what I thought because he had messaged me.
Right. So just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna have time for that.
Sadly.
Sadly, yes. Sorry, Jason. I'll get back.
We love you though.
I'll send him a private message back about that and what's going on.
We love you though.
Yes, we do. And Nick just says we all psychic one way or another, not 100% like some others, but it's true. Yes. That is true. We all have that ability within us. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Cheryl's telling about her daughter. Let me see. Good morning, a short, plump lady spirit, I think, woke me up. It took her. Okay. All right. Very cool. Wearing a bonnet. Okay. So that would maybe say somewhat older, for an older period of time. Well, sometimes, we don't see their faces, I think, because we don't know who they are. So since we don't know who they are, their face doesn't come through distinctly for us. Or they may not be able to manifest it quite as well.
In some faiths, like I know for Native American folklore, shadow people are actually believed to be people that you have not met yet. I remember we learned this from Ted Vanson. So Ted, if you are interested in the Native American side of it, Ted Vanson is a wonderful guy to come in contact with. He has a vast amount of knowledge.
True.
And he loves talking about shadow people. So if you'd love to know that end of the spectrum.
Hey, because Ted has his show every week as well.
Mm-hmm.
And you can jump on Ted's show.
Yes.
And
he was one of our first guests. I think he was our first guest on this show.
Yes, he was, as a matter of fact.
And we were talking about shadow people.
And we were talking about shadow. That's correct. Ellie Gates says, let you know where she can contact you, please. Probably the best place to be Facebook, I would think. But how
Yes, that's what I was thinking. I'm like trying to figure out how to get. Oh, I'll comment, and then if we're not friends yet, you can friend request me.
Yeah.
Hello.
All right, so we got a lot of good questions tonight.
Yeah, I agree.
Other one's from Steve. Interesting question for you guys. Can a shadow person see a common spirit and kind of common spirit see a shadow person? I'm not sure what you mean by a common.
So, can a shadow person see a normal manifestation of a spirit in the spirit realm, and can vice versa?
That I can't answer. I really
I
won't.
don't know.
I really don't have the answer. I'm not on the other side yet, Steve. I haven't.
It is an interesting question, though.
It is an interesting question. It's just not one I have an answer for because I don't know of anybody who's had an experience where they know one spirit saw another kind of spirit where you
Right.
can prove that.
And this brings it into an interesting
Do you think-
topic of interdimensional time frames with spirit. So sometimes
Yeah,
spirit can stay in a certain time period, and
correct.
they can reside with another spirit from another time period, but they won't ever match
They
up.
never see it. They don't know that each other exists. Yes,
Exactly.
that's
Yeah.
true. Yes, that's true.
And actually, that can happen with spirit and us as well. And a good example was on was it Ghost Hunter? Ghost Hunters? Was it
I don't
Tabs?
know.
They were in a hotel and they caught on a voice recorder. They were saying, "Are you here with us?" And she was saying, "I can't see you. I can hear you." And she was like replying to them like she could hear them, but she couldn't
Yes,
see.
yeah, that was the princess room.
Yes.
I think it was I think there was the one out in. Is that the one in New Hampshire? The big place in New Hampshire? I forget. But yes, that was more of a time slip where they felt that they were somehow she could hear them in her time because to her it was her normal time and to them it was their normal time. So there is that. Are we sometimes not really talking to spirits? We're talking through some type of time portal,
Yes.
time slip.
Kind of a little
Let me
twist
see.
on the topic there.
Yeah, it is. But they didn't see a shadow figure or anything like that. They were just doing an EVP session. And they found that out after they did the EVP session. So, they didn't know it right at the time either. So I get a lot of questions.
Which is good.
Yes. I have a friend whose mother and grandmother are both passed, and someone told her that her grandmother didn't know that her daughter had passed. Is this possible? I have a friend whose mother and grandmother are both passed.
So the grandmother and mother are both on the other side. They're both spirit.
All right.
But
And
the
someone
grandmother did
told
not know
her
that the mother had passed.
Told her
That's
that.
what they were told.
Okay. All right. Well, is it possible? Yeah. I mean, you're talking about the psychic. They're talking about the psychic or the person.
Is it possible
for
for
that
a
person?
family member to not know that another family member has passed?
I suppose it is. Oh, yes. All right. I see what they're saying now. Okay. Yeah, I suppose it is. You wouldn't think it would be, but I suppose it is. We don't know how the other side really works. We assume that other family would know when the other one passed, but maybe the person who recently passed hasn't really crossed over yet. In that particular case, they may not know, the other spirit may not know that person passed, or the other spirit that you make contact with hasn't really crossed over yet. So they're not aware. Because of that, they're not aware that the other one has passed. I mean, there's a combination of things that could be going on there.
Or you could have two different faiths.
Well, that's not likely with the family, but it's possible. It's possible. My thought on that would be one hadn't passed over yet, hadn't crossed over yet.
Yeah.
So they were still earthbound, so to speak. So they didn't know that the other one had passed yet.
So one,
that's possible.
I kind of have a personal answer to that, which
Go ahead.
does kind of coincide with this. So when my dad had passed, he did not cross over for years. And it took him a very long time to get up the courage to actually face his fears. And one of his fears was facing his dad, my grandfather was a very strict man when he was alive. Like, he was of that older generation who was like, he was a farmer who was like, this has to get done and this has to get done and you have to behave. If not, I'm gonna beat your butt. Okay. So my dad was very upset because of his mistakes that he had made during his life, and he was worried that his dad was going to be, very disappointed in him. And so that prevented him from passing on. And so in order for him to move on to the other side, he had to face my grandfather, his dad. And so I don't know if he knew my dad had passed or not, or if someone had told him, but sometimes you don't get to see your family members on the other side, and it's very situational. And that's an example of my dad not getting into contact with his dad just based on the fact of personal reasons. So I don't know if that has to coincide with that at all or not, but
well, but it's another good possibility. I mean, yeah,
there is limited contact in different situations. And I know this personally because he told me himself. So, and it was confirmed with another psychic.
Well, there you go. So there's a possible reason. You go. Never thought of that, but yeah, that's it. That's you had it validated. So, so there you go. Steve has a good question here. John Carly, have you ever heard about a phone call from the grave, meaning a spirit had the ability to use a phone? Okay, Steve. Yes, but the spirit's not using a phone. Not in the way that you think they're picking up a phone from someplace else and calling somebody. They're actually, we know spirits can manipulate electronic devices. So what they're actually trying to do is manipulate the phone within the home or with that person has on them, like today's cell phones actually still occurs. They're actually manipulating that there to try to speak through it. So they're not picking up another phone and making a phone call, right? They're trying to manipulate the electronic device in order to speak through it to that person. Now, it can seem like it's a phone call. A number may even come up, but the voice on the other end will be garbled, usually broken, not completely clear. And that's them trying to speak through an electronic device. Believe it or not, I've even had people have it recently with like the little devices you have for your home, the Alexas and the
Cortanas and
little devices
Google,
on your table. Yeah, Google Bowl. Yeah, and they've had somebody who recently passed, and then they're suddenly maybe a month or so later hearing the person's voice come through that device. That's obviously not a phone call, but they can hear it and they know it's their voice. You can't always tell what they're saying though. So yes, it can manipulate electronic devices. So, but I have had that happen with some clients where they received a phone call from the grave, so to speak.
I had that happen at Lowe's all the time.
And Bob says he had his name called out the Conjuring House in January. He had it happen at Lowe's.
Oh, yeah. So I work customer service, and sometimes when I talk to people on the phone, because that was literally all I did for 8 hours.
Yeah.
You'd hear voices on the phone that was not them, and it didn't sound like a human, like with the vocal cords. Like, it didn't sound like it, but they were words that were coming through the static almost.
Yeah. That's
and it would be like my name or the other person's name, or it would or one of us would hear or both of us would hear, and then be like, is somebody else on the phone? Like, did someone pick up another phone in the household? And nope. It's so weird. But yeah. It's so
like to manipulate the phone within the home. It's a good one.
Yeah.
It's a good one. So, well, we're getting a little low on time here, believe it or not. So I'm going to play this video for you. There should be sound on it. You don't really need the sound. Or actually, no, this section, there is no sound. Because you kind of really don't need it for what you're going to look for. So you're looking for 3 shadow figures total. and they move past this one window that's in the background behind my investigator that's sitting on the floor. So let's see, watch this and see if we can check it and see what you think of it. And this has been debunked. We tried to debunk it. Let's put it that way. We tried for hours and hours and hours to try to figure out some normal cause for this, and we could find none, just so you guys know. We tried everything you can think of. We tried it. So I'm going to play this for you, and this is at the Fairbanks house in Dedham, Massachusetts. I'm going to play this for you. It'll play again, so it might stream a little easier next time. But if you can see that dark shadow figure moving there, that's the third one.
It actually makes it a little bit easier to see.
So it'll play again. Well, this section was already in slow motion anyway, but I think it was lagging a little bit at first. You've seen some blurring because this was being run in slow motion on the film. I slowed it down. Looks like we lost it. Okay, so let's try that again. It didn't show the whole thing because so I know it was not streaming.
I mean, that was powerful.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I felt it, right away. That's always the problem with these videos. They lag.
It's probably the...
better before, isn't it? Yeah, see now it goes fast. Okay. Tell you, it's tough playing video over these damn streaming things. But we'll see if it streams a little bit better this time. Let's see. Here he goes. Nope, it jumped. It jumped. Yeah, it keeps jumping. It's not streaming properly. Slow, and then it goes fast, and then you miss it. So anyways, we tried. Yeah, I think I'm going to give up on trying to stream video at all from now on. So at first time it came up, you saw there should have been 3.
Well, some people saw, so
yeah, and you can actually check this video out on our website. It is on our spiritsofnewengland.org website. You can check it out there. But I wish it's supposed to be able to stream pretty good through this, and it never does. But you can check it out there. I also have it up on YouTube under my own account. Or it might be it's on our Spirits of New England account. But anyways, I will send you guys a link to it in case you didn't. I did try. Yeah, in case you didn't catch it, I'll throw the link up from our website, and you can catch it there. Let's see if I can do that. Evidence. And actually, there's a very good one also from the USS Constitution that I believe is also on our website. So I'm going to put this link up to you guys out there. You can check it out. This is a link to where our evidence is, and you can check it out there too. It says, did see something. Had to put phone up really close. Well, there was no real sound really involved. But
Just visuals.
it was mostly just all visual stuff. There was no real sound involved except the very first part. But if you saw it, that's pretty cool. If you didn't, check it out on our website, and you can really catch it there. You guys got any other questions about tonight? About we talked about. Wow, I had a lot of questions about the shadow figures and about a lot of things.
Yes, and I did put Ted Vanson's name up, a link to his profile if you guys want to check him out and ask him some questions. He loves to answer questions, so definitely reach out to him and go check out his show that he has. I know, I think Barry or Carl put it up earlier.
Yeah, I always just forget the
Paratalk Radio.
Paratalk Radio.
So,
yes.
Yeah, with Psychic Cindy.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it was also very cool. It's a very good show too. I mean, they have a really cool show. Ted does. And Debbie does ask a question. What does it mean when you see a full-bodied apparition of someone? No, it doesn't necessarily mean anything. Depends on who it is. If it's a family member, they may be trying to get your attention. Seeing a full-bodied apparition is pretty rare, actually. So if you did see one, I would say if you're seeing something like that, you probably get pretty strong psychic abilities of your own. And that spirit, and you're being able to see them, they may really be trying to communicate something to you, or it even still could be something residual that you're just able to see it because of your own abilities. Any ideas on that, Carly? You think it has any real meaning if you see that?
Again, it's very situational. So a lot of things in the paranormal aren't black and white. Just because you see one thing, it could mean 1,000 other things. It all depends on your situation, the spirit situation, and the environmental situation. So it's all part of the equation. But if you did not feel scared when you saw them, or you didn't feel any negative reaction when you saw them, I wouldn't be worried about it. If you felt comforted from it, that's more of a positive reaction, and it's more of somebody just looking out for you. It could be, it's just the way the spirit is manifesting itself to you, either through a physical manifestation that you're seeing with your eyes, or through your psychic manifestation through your third eye. So it's not physically there, but you are seeing it in your mind's eye.
Correct. So to you, it seems like it's really there, as I've had that happen myself. I saw something that to me, it looked like it was right there, that everybody else should be able to see it. Not necessarily the case. Even I realized nobody else could see it. So there is that too. Yeah, it might be if you ever think, why does anybody else see it? It's because you're just seeing it with your mind's eye.
Yes.
And even though it seems like it's really there, not everybody else can see it. It's really there to you.
Yes.
And that can be the case. But you also have to be a little careful with that too, because they're finding out some people with certain disorders and stuff can actually see things that aren't there, or are they seeing spirits? That's another good question.
Yes.
And we just don't realize that yet. If their mind's open to something that hadn't been before. But we do know there is some diseases that cause hallucinations too.
I do have to say something really cute though.
Yeah, I'm just looking down through.
So when we were doing our investigation this weekend, it did involve some family members just wanting to let them know that they were there. And during the investigation, we brought out some divining rods to kind of get some more direct communication, because some of the technology wasn't exactly working in terms of questions and answers and trying to find some answers. And so there was a part where we were sitting down in the room. There was about 3 or 4 of us. I'm not sure if you were in the room, Jack. But someone was holding a family member was holding the divining rods, and we asked, "Can you please point to where you are?" And it pointed towards a section of the room. And there was also a little child in the room who was being affected by the family member because they were kind of like keeping him up at night and making him laugh and, you know, kind of just joking around with him, but it was all positive. And the kid, without looking at the divining rods, like has his back to the divining rods, looks in the exact area of where the divining rods were pointing and starts looking up to about a person's height and was laughing like he saw them. So that really goes to show that kids and young children can see spirit.
Oh yeah, they definitely can.
So to them, it looks like an actual person standing in front of them, and they can hear them, and they're completely open to it. And it was cute. It was awesome.
Yeah.
So
And,
I love it.
yeah, Debbie says she was terrified by that experience. It can be just unnerving.
And sometimes paranormal experiences are terrifying. They are scary,
especially if you haven't experienced it before.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially if they're confusing and it's the unknown, it can be scary. When the time to be concerned is when you're feeling feelings that are not your own. And one way to decipher that is, did you feel it before you had a thought? Or did you have a thought and then had a feeling as a result? So that is how you tell between your emotions and a spirit's emotions being put onto you. So, yes. It's, again, very situational. But if you'd like to know more, please reach out, and we will get someone to help you in your area.
Yep, we can do that. Alrighty, so with that, folks, we are pretty much at our time here. That went by fast tonight. If you're looking for any good reads, any good books, you can find mine online at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com. Just put in my name in the search bar, Jack Kenna, and my books and comic book will all show up for you. Carly, give me your information about what you're streaming stuff.
Yeah, so I am a video game streamer on the side. So you can find me at twitch.tv/thisfruitcake2. That is why someone said hi fruitcake, because that is my name. Twitch, TWITCH, like Twitchy. So twitch.tv/thisfruitcake2. I stream Call of Duty and occasionally some story games for you guys. And right now we're focusing on some tournament stuff and competitions. So definitely, if you'd like to hang out and say hi, come check me out.
There you go. There you go. Thanks again, everybody. And Linda Lou, that was a very good last point you made there regarding kids don't really have that fear in them yet. They don't know enough to be afraid. Good point.
Yes, that is a good point.
Yep. Thank you all again for tuning in tonight. As always, we love you all. We appreciate you all showing up. And thanks for always asking such great questions. We'll be back again next Tuesday with another show. And well, I'll put out maybe we'll talk about what we want to hear from next. If you guys got a certain topic you want to cover, toss me a line. Let me know. And thanks again, everybody, for sharing with each other and sharing with us. And Carly's going to have to talk, I guess, to Nick a little bit more.
Yeah. Love those games.
This is for you, Nick. There you go. All right. You guys have a great night. Love you all. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.